Okay, boys and girls, we're going to continue with Dr. Carbles is losing his marbles. Chapter 6, Dr. Carbles is watching you. When I got back to class, everybody was working on our Thanksgiving Day display. Miss Daisy said we should still make one even if Mr. Klutz wasn't our principal anymore. We spent all morning learning about Thanksgiving. The first one was in 1621. It went on for 3 days. That's a long meal. Back then, the pilgrims only had knives and spoons. They didn't even have any forks. Maybe if they had forks, it wouldn't have taken them 3 days to eat dinner. Did you know that at that time of Thanksgiving, the pilgrims didn't just eat turkeys, they also ate ducks, geese, swans. Ugh, disgusting. It was fun making the display, but nobody was happy. We all knew that in the afternoon there would be more marching, more yelling, and more rules. When we got to the vomitorium for lunch, all the posters about exercising and the food pyramid were gone. The new posters said, "No talking, behave or else, shut up and eat." There was even a video camera mounted on the wall with a sign underneath it that said, "Dr. Carbles is watching you." We had to whisper because none of us wanted to get sent to Dr. Carbles' office. I heard Dr. Carbles is going to put up some guard towers and barbed wire fence around the school so we can't escape, Ryan whispered. "We may have to dig a tunnel to get out," I whispered to the guys. "I saw that in a movie once. I heard that he punishes kids by putting them into solitary confinement," whispered Michael. "They force you to play solitary?" I whispered back. "Solitary confinement isn't the same as solitary," dumbhead, whispered Andrea, who's sitting at the next table. "It is, too," I whispered. We whispered back and forth like that for a while. I had to whisper, "So is your face," to Andrea. But I knew I was right because my mom plays the game Solitary Confinement on her computer. "I miss Mr. Klutz," Emily whispered. "I'm worried about him," whispered Andrea. "My mom is a psychologist. She said that people who lose their jobs can get depressed." "We've got to do something," Emily whispered. "We should go over to his house and cheer him up," Michael whispered. "How would we find out where he lives?" whispered Neil, the new kid. "My mom is vice president of PTA," Andrea whispered. "She knows everything." Suddenly, Dr. Carbles burst into the vomitorium with his bullhorn. "Knock it off," he yelled. "It's time for the lunchtime march. Let's go." We all jumped up and got into the line outside the door. "Hop to it," Dr. Carbles hollered. "Left, right, march, move it. Kindergartners, you're slow and weak. I want each of you to give me 20 push-ups. Dr. Carbles is losing his marbles." Chapter 7, The Truth About Dr. Carbles. Well, I had to admit that Andrea came through for us. Her mom got Mr. Klutz's address, and on Saturday, we all piled into her van to go visit him. The van was big enough to hold Andrea, Emily, me, Ryan, Michael, and Neil, the nude kid. Andrea's mom needs a big van because she's always taking Andrea and her annoying girly friends to dance lessons, cooking lessons, and piano lessons, and every other kind of lesson they have. If they gave lessons on how to clip your toenails, Andrea would take them so she could get better at it. I was really surprised when we got to Mr. Klutz's address. I thought he would live in a castle, since he was the king of the school, but it was just a regular old house. Ryan rang the doorbell, and a lady came out. "May I help you?" she asked. "I'm Carla Klutz." Whoa. Mr. Klutz never told us he had a wife. I wonder if she knew her husband was going to marry a turkey. "Is Mr. Klutz home?" Andrea's mom asked. "Yes, please come inside." She led us inside the living room, and you'll never believe in 1,100,000 years what we saw. It was a half pike. Mr. Klutz had a giant half pike right in the middle of his living room. Not only that, but he was skateboarding on it. He did a front slide 180 ollie and a handstand, finger flip, and a coconut wheelie. He was really good. Woohoo! Yelled Mr. Clutch. Watch this! He tried to do an inverted nose grab, but he messed up and it turned into a spectacular face plant. That means he crashed, in case you don't speak skateboard. He tried to do are you okay? We all asked as he ran over to him. Of course, he said. To what do I owe the pleasure of your company? That's grown-up's way for saying, what are you doing here? We were afraid you were depressed, Andrea told him. So we came to cheer you up. Me, depressed? Said Mr. Klutz. I've never been happier. I don't have to write reports anymore or deal with crazy teachers, pushy parents, or obnoxious kids. Finally, I have time to chase my dream. What's your dreams, Neil, the new kid asked. To become a champion skateboarder, Mr. Klutz said. Cool, said all the boys. But you're a great principal, said Andrea. You never misses the chance to brown nose a grown-up. We need you back at school. Dr. Carbles is driving us crazy, Michael said. Yes, Milton can be a bit hard to deal with, said Mr. Klutz. Milton, I said. He told us his name was Frank. I don't know about that, said Mr. Klutz, but I do know why. Do you know why he fired me? Because you wear diapers, I asked. No, Mr. Klutz said. Milton and I grew up together. He was my rival when we were teenagers. We were the two best skateboarders on the local skateboarding team. Then one day we got into an argument and I called him a walrus face. From then on, everybody called him walrus face. He's been out to get me ever since. That's an insult, I said. To walruses? Hold on, said Andrea. Dr. Carble's been out to get you all these years just because you gave him a silly nickname? There's more to it than that, Mr. Klutz told us. Milton was also jealous of me because he went bald at a very young age and I had a full head of hair. You had a full head of hair? We all said at the same time. Mr. Klutz had no hair at all. I mean, none. Do you think I was born this way? Said Mr. Klutz. Mr. Klutz brought out a photo album with a picture of Mr. Klutz as a teenager. He had hair down to his shoulders. That's sad that your hair stopped growing, Emily said. It looks like there were tears in her eyes. What a crybaby. Oh, it didn't stop growing, Mr. Klutz said. It still grows, only now it grows out of my ears and my nose, and I have to trim it every week. Ugh, disgusting. I thought I was going to throw up. Wait a minute, Andrea said. Dr. Carbles isn't bald? Yes, he is, said Mr. Klutz. He wears a toupee. Shh, don't tell him I told you that. People found out he's bald, it would drive him crazy. Andrea's mother said it was time for us to go. Mr. Klutz thanked us for coming. Just before we pushed out of the driveway, Mr. Klutz came running out to the van. He's driving me crazy at home. Mrs. Klutz came running out to the van. He's driving me crazy at home, she said. You've got to get him back to school.